much.
Thank you, Senator Collins. Senator Braun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can't remember the last time we've had the chance to speak, but good to have you back again. I want to go back to, and I think I asked Mr. Garland or somebody else this question, but when you go back to 2020, the summer of it, there was a lot of crime in our cities. And of course, what I've been hearing mostly about would be the arrests that we've made associated with January 6th. So can you give me some kind of accounting in terms of all the various incidents that occurred across our big cities that had, the crime in the streets, where I think we actually ended up with more people killed, lots of downtown businesses, burned and damaged. Have we been as diligent there as we have on the January 6th issue? And just give me a general accounting, where I know that we've arrested over 700 individuals associated with it. What have we accomplished from what was, something maybe even broader in scope in terms of damage and lives lost?
So I don't have exact numbers for you here, but what I will tell you is that the violence amidst all the civil unrest over the summer of 2020, we used all 56 of our field offices. We used our joint terrorism task forces in all 56 of our field offices. There were hundreds of investigations, hundreds of arrests. Now, I should pause on that last part, because often there is, as you know, no domestic terrorism offense, federal domestic terrorism offense. So a lot of times we on our joint terrorism task forces, which have state and local officers assigned to them, part of the reason for that is that sometimes the most effective charge is a state charge. So a lot of times the federal investigations from some of the activity over the summer resulted ultimately in some state charge. But we had any number of cases involving Molotov cocktails, burning and firebombing, police cars, things like that. And we continue. They don't get a lot of attention in the press, but we continue to develop cases and bring charges still from some of the activity back then. So we have not taken our foot off the gas on those cases.
I didn't know if you'd have that information. I'd like to know with a little more specificity, and get back to the office later in terms of what that kind of comparison would be in terms of arrests and convictions based on January 6th versus the whole spectrum of what occurred back in the summer of 2020, if you would.
I'll see what we can get you on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tragically, we've had another shooting occur. I'm interested in that mental health component. I'm interested in whether it's racially motivated, whether it's just somebody that is out to create havoc like just occurred. What are we doing that takes information that in many cases is broadcast as aggressively as being in a manifesto? Maybe not that direct, but we pick up always after the fact that there's been some telegraphing of what might happen. So are we doing what you think needs to be done to kind of figure out what might occur when we find out after the fact that there's generally been information out there from as obvious as a manifesto to maybe a lot of indications that this could happen? Are you happy with what law enforcement is doing across the board, especially the FBI?
Well, I'm very proud of the hard work of the men and women of law enforcement, not just the FBI, but our state and local partners who bear the primary burden for a lot of what you're talking about. I will say that there is no shortage of hateful information out there on the internet and social media in different forms. And we, the FBI, don't just go out and kind of monitor social media sort of passively looking for stuff. We rely on proper predication and then pursue it. So what that really gets back to is the exchange that I had with Senator Collins about the importance of having the public come forward. You know, I used the saying that used to be applied in a different context: if you see something, say something. What we need, what law enforcement needs, is the public, neighbors, school teachers, relatives, friends, classmates, whoever, the people who are likely to see somebody's behavior online and see it change from just being somebody just blowing off steam to taking a bit of a turn. And that's often the same person who would know this person's not only just taken a really dark turn, but this person I know, you know, this member of the public, has weapons in his or her home. And calling law enforcement. And when that happens, that's when we're most effective. And we need to try to encourage more and more of that, which is why our NTOC, our public access line, if you will, gets millions of tips a year, and we're frantically trying to push those out when we get them.
I think whatever observation tools you use, whatever algorithms might be in place, that it's kind of disappointing that so often we hear that was there, and we just needed to do a better job of ferreting it out. May I have just another few seconds for a quick question? I was on a school board for 10 years. I could not get in my school as a school board member because we had a security system in place that had to allow you in. And I think we had a resource officer there in Texas at that school. What is the FBI's viewpoint on taking soft targets like a school to where seemingly we rotate into a tragedy too often, to where having that in place, why don't we have more of it? And we had this in place in Indiana in my own school district back 10 to 12 years ago. Why aren't we doing more there?
Well, I think a lot of those are judgments by individual school systems and school boards that may be based on resources, other things. I do know that we on the FBI side have tried to help heighten the awareness of things that they can do to better harden the schools. We've put out PSAs, videos about to better harden the school environment. There's a lot of thinking that has improved in law enforcement and security over the last 10 or 15 years about the best way to protect an otherwise soft target like a school. And so we're really trying to get the word out so that they have the information they need to take some of those actions. And so as to why an individual school may or may not have chosen a particular security measure, that probably depends on the school system.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Braun. Senator Graham.
Thank you, Director.